You call your husband a madman. You ungrateful girl. After I fed you, God forbid. God forbid. He's a madman. Wash which clothes? Those rags you are wearing. You look like a mad person, Ada. Soap cannot help you.
Liar. Chi-Chi jumped up, snatching the money from her mother. For cleaning floor and cooking soup? Don't think we are stupid. You are sleeping with him. That is the only way a man gives a village girl like you this kind of money. Hey there, pour a cup of tea, get comfy, and let your heart listen. The story's about to start. Welcome to Tales Vibe, where laughter and lessons flow together. If you love a good story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more tales every week, and please tell us where you're watching from in the comments. We'd love to know where our story family is tuning in from. The first cock had not yet crowed when Ada opened her eyes. The room was dark and silent. She rolled off the thin, worn-out mat that served as her bed and folded it neatly into the corner. Her back ached from the hard floor, but there was no time to complain. In Madame Ketchy's house, sleeping late was a crime. Ada moved quickly to the living room. She picked up the soft broom and began to sweep the floor. She moved the chairs and center table with care, making sure not to make any noise. If she woke her stepmother up before the alarm, there would be trouble. After sweeping the inside, she took the heavy yellow jerrycan and hurried outside to the communal tap down the street. The line at the tap was short because it was so early. Ada filled her container, the water splashing loudly. She lifted the heavy jerrycan, her thin arms straining under the weight, and carried it back to the house. In the kitchen, she lit the small kerosene stove. The smell of kerosene filled the small space as she set a pot of water to boil for breakfast. From the main bedroom, a loud hiss cut through the silence. Madame Ketchy was awake. "Ada," the woman shouted. "Good morning, Ma," Ada replied, rushing to the bedroom door. "I am here." Madame Ketchy walked out, tying a faded wrapper around her chest. Her face was hard. "Is the pap ready? Or do you want me to wait until Jesus comes?" "It is almost ready, Ma. The water is boiling," Ada said softly, looking at her feet. Minutes later, Chi-Chi, Madame Ketchy's daughter, walked into the parlor. She dragged her feet and yawned loudly, scratching her messy hair. "Mummy, this house is too hot," Chi-Chi complained, falling onto the sofa. "Ada, put the fan on for me." Ada quickly turned on the fan before running back to the kitchen to mix the raw pap. She served Madame Ketchy and Chi-Chi their breakfast, hot pap with milk and sugar, and bean cakes bought from the night market. She placed the tray on the table and stood back. "Go and eat your own in the kitchen," and Ketchy dismissed her with a wave of her hand. "And be fast." Ada went back to the kitchen. She scraped the pot. There was only a little pap left, thin and watery. She drank it straight from a plastic cup without milk or sugar. It did little to stop the hunger in her stomach, but it was better than nothing. "Ada," Ketchy yelled again. "Are you still eating? Carry the market tray now." Ada washed the plates quickly and dried her hands. She went to the corner where the wide metal basin sat. It was filled with green and yellow oranges. She placed a folded piece of cloth on her head and lifted the heavy basin. "Listen to me," Madame Ketchy said, pointing a finger at her. "If you don't sell all these oranges today, don't come back to this house. Do you hear me?" "Yes, Ma," Ada whispered. She walked out of the gate, the heavy basin pressing down on her neck. She adjusted her neck and started walking towards the busy road. "By Sweet Orange," she called out, her voice clear. "By Sweet Orange." By the time the sun was high in the sky, Ada's basin was empty. The day had been good. She sold to drivers in traffic and market women who needed a quick snack. Her neck ached from the weight of the tray, but her waist pouch was heavy with coins and notes. She walked back to the house, her steps slow. When she entered the compound, Madame Ketchy was sitting on the veranda, fanning herself with an old newspaper. Chi-Chi sat next to her, painting her fingernails bright red. "Welcome, Ma," Ada said, lowering the empty basin to the floor. Madame Ketchy dropped the newspaper. Her eyes went straight to the pouch on Ada's waist. "Bring it." Ada untied the small bag and handed it over. Madame Ketchy opened it greedily. She counted the money, licking her thumb to separate the notes. 5,000 naira, Ketchy announced. She looked at Ada with suspicion. "Is this everything? Don't lie to me." "It is everything, Ma. I sold all the oranges," Ada replied quietly. Ketchy stuffed the money into her bra. "Good. Now go and wash the bathroom. It smells. Ma, Ada hesitated. I was hoping, can I get 200 naira? I need to buy soap to wash my clothes. Chichi laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. Wash which clothes? Those rags you are wearing? You look like a mad person, Ada. Soap cannot help you. Did you hear your sister? Nkechi sneered. I am keeping this money for our upkeep. The food you eat, is it free? Go and do your work. Ada bit her lip to stop the tears. She picked up her basin and walked away. There was no point in arguing. She went outside the gate to sit on the concrete block near the fence, just to be away from their voices. She buried her face in her hands. Ada. She looked up. It was Obi, her childhood friend. He was smiling, looking neat in a pressed shirt. Obi had always been kind to her, even when others ignored her. Obi, she wiped her face quickly. Good afternoon. Why are you sitting here looking like you lost a lottery ticket? Obi asked, sitting on the block next to her. It is nothing, Ada lied. Just tired. Obi looked at her seriously. Ada, I have news. Good news. You know my boss, Femi? The one who lives in the big white house? Yes. He just returned from abroad yesterday, Obi said, his voice full of excitement. He is looking for someone to clean the house and cook for him. He wants a trustworthy person. I told him about you. Ada looked at him, surprised. Me? But I am just an orange seller. You are hardworking, Ada. I know you, Obi insisted. The pay is very good. Better than selling oranges. He needs someone to start tomorrow. Ada's heart beat faster. A job with her own pay? It sounded like a dream. Are you sure he will hire me? She asked. Just come tomorrow morning, Obi smiled. Trust me. This is your chance. The next morning came with a mix of fear and hope. Ada told Madame Nkechi she was going to the market early to buy cheaper oranges from a new supplier. It was a lie, but she needed to escape. She arrived at the large black gate of Femi's house. Her hands were shaking slightly. Obi opened the gate with a wide smile. You came, Obi said. Don't be afraid. Just be yourself. He led her into the main building. The living room was massive, bigger than Madame Nkechi's entire house. But it was covered in dust. Sheets covered the furniture, and the air smelled stale, like a room that had not been opened in years. A tall man walked down the stairs. He wore a simple t-shirt and shorts, but he looked important. This was Femi. Good morning, sir, Ada greeted, bending her knees slightly in respect. Femi looked at her. He seemed surprised by how young she looked. Good morning. Obi says you are a hard worker. This house has been empty for a long time. Can you handle it? Yes, sir, Ada said, her voice steady. I can handle it. Okay. There are cleaning supplies in the kitchen. I will be in my study. Ada wasted no time. She tied her wrapper tighter around her waist and began. She did not just clean, she attacked the dirt. She swept, mopped, and dusted every corner. She wiped the windows until they were clear. She scrubbed the bathroom tiles until they sparkled white. For 4 hours, she did not sit down. Around noon, Femi came downstairs. He stopped in the middle of the living room. He looked around, his eyes wide. The dust was gone. The floor reflected the light. The stale smell was replaced by the fresh scent of lemon cleaner. Wow, Femi said softly. He ran a finger over a table. No dust. You did all this alone? Yes, sir, Ada replied, wiping sweat from her forehead. Femi nodded, impressed. Obi was right. You are good. He paused. Lucas mentioned you can cook too. I haven't eaten a proper home-cooked meal in months. Can you make something? I can make vegetable soup and pounded yam, sir, Ada suggested. Please do. Ada went to the kitchen. It was modern and full of gadgets she had never seen, but she found the pots and the gas cooker. She worked with a rhythm she knew well. She chopped the vegetables, pounded the pepper, and boiled the yam. Soon, the aroma of rich vegetable soup filled the house. She served Femi at the dining table. He washed his hands and took a swallow of the pounded yam dipped in the thick soup. He chewed slowly. Ada held her breath, watching him. Femi closed his eyes. This is amazing, he said. It tastes exactly like my grandmother's cooking in the village. He looked at Ada with a new respect. What is your name again? Ada, sir. Ada, Femi said. You are hired. Can you come every day? Ada smiled, a real, genuine smile. Yes, sir. I can. A gentle routine settled into Ada's life. Every morning, she finished her chores at Madame Nkechi's house quickly, ignored Chichi's insults, and rushed to Femi's house. That big white house became her sanctuary. There, she wasn't a slave. She was a worker who was respected. One afternoon, Femi was sitting at the large dining table, his laptop open. He looked frustrated. He was on a call, his voice rising in anger. "I cannot change my plans just because you don't like it." Femi shouted into the phone. "Agriculture is the future. If you cannot see that, then I don't know what to tell you." He cut the call and slammed the phone on the table. He rubbed his face with his hands. Ada, who was dusting the shelf nearby, stopped. She wanted to leave the room to give him space, but Femi looked up. "Women," he sighed, shaking his head. "Ada, do you think farming is dirty work?" Ada was surprised he was asking her. She put down her duster. "No, sir. Farming is life. My father used to say that if you feed the soil will feed you." Femi sat up straight, looking interested. "Your father was a farmer?" "Yes, sir. Before he died," Ada said softly. "He had a big yam and cassava farm in the village. He taught me everything. How to read the clouds for rain, how to mix the soil with compost so the yams grow big and sweet." Femi's eyes lit up. "That is exactly what I was trying to tell my fiancée. She thinks I should work in an oil company or sit in an air-conditioned office. She doesn't understand that the real wealth is in the land." He motioned for Ada to sit. For the next hour, he didn't treat her like a cleaner. He showed her pictures of the land he bought. Ada pointed out things he missed. "Sir, this land here," she pointed to the screen. "It is too close to the river. If the rain is heavy, the cassava will rot. You should plant rice there, not cassava." Femi laughed, a genuine, happy sound. "You are right. I didn't even think of that. You are very smart, Ada." It was the first time in years anyone had called her smart. The next morning, Femi was rushing out early. He stopped at the door. "Ada, I am going to the site. I left some money on the dining table for the market. Buy whatever we need for the house. The rest is for your transport." He left without counting it in front of her. Ada walked to the table. A thick bundle of Naira notes sat there. It was more money than she had ever seen. She could take some, and he might not notice. But she remembered her father's voice. A good name is better than silver and gold. She took only what was needed for the soup, and kept the change safe in the kitchen drawer. She did not touch a kobo that was not hers. At the end of the week, Femi handed Ada a white envelope. It was her first full salary. Ada held it with 2 hands, bowing slightly. "Thank you, sir. God bless you," she said. "You earned it, Ada," Femi smiled. "See you on Monday." Ada walked home with a light step. Inside the envelope was 30,000 Naira. It was more money than she had held in her hands for years. She planned to buy a small piece of Ankara fabric and maybe a new pair of slippers. She entered the compound hoping to slip in quietly, but Madame Nkechi and Chichi were waiting in the parlor like hungry hawks. "Welcome, Madam Worker," Nkechi said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Where is the money?" Ada hesitated, then handed over the envelope. Madame Nkechi tore it open. Her eyes widened as she counted the crisp notes. 30,000? Nkechi shouted. She looked at Chichi, then back at Ada. "You thief! Where did you steal tea?" "I did not steal it, Ma," Ada cried. "It is my pay. Oga Femi pays well." "Liar!" Chichi jumped up, snatching the money from her mother. "For cleaning floor and cooking soup? Don't think we are stupid. You are sleeping with him. That is the only way a man gives a village girl like you this kind of money." "I am not," Ada protested, tears forming in her eyes. "He is a good man." "Shut up." Nkechi slapped Ada across the face. "You are doing runs and bringing the shame to my house. I will keep this money. Consider it payment for the food you have been eating since your father died." Ada fled to the backyard, weeping. Chichi looked at the money, her mind racing. "Mummy, if this ordinary girl can get 30,000, imagine what I can get. I am finer than her. I am a university graduate. I should be the one in that house." The next morning, Chichi dressed in her tightest gown. She applied heavy makeup and wore a wig that reached her waist. She marched to Femi's house, telling the gateman she was Ada's sister coming to help. She went straight to the kitchen. "I will cook a stew that will make him forget that small girl," she muttered. She poured plenty of groundnut oil into the pot, added expensive tin tomatoes, and threw in all the spices she could find. When Femi came down for lunch, he was surprised to see Chichi. "Where is Ada?" he asked. "Oh, she is busy," Chichi smiled, batting her eyelashes. "I am Chichi, her sister. I made a special stew for you. Real city food, not that village rubbish Ada makes." She served the stew. It was swimming in red oil. Femi took 1 spoon and almost choked. It was too salty and too oily. He pushed the plate away gently. Is there any plain white rice? Femi asked. My stomach is a bit upset today. Chichi's smile fell. But sir, this is rich stew. I prefer simple food, Femi said firmly. Please, just the rice. Chichi stood there, humiliated. She had wasted her time and makeup. She left the house fuming, her jealousy turning into a cold, hard hatred for Ada. The house was hot with anger when Chichi returned. She threw her wig on the sofa and screamed at Ada to get out of her sight. Madame Nkechi was pacing the floor. The annual August meeting was coming up in 2 weeks, and she had promised the women's group a large donation to show off. But she had spent all her money, and the 30,000 naira she took from Ada was already gone on debts. She needed cash fast. That evening, Nkechi called Ada into the parlor. Ada, Nkechi said, her face hard like stone. I have found a husband for you. Ada looked up, confused. Husband? But ma, I am not ready. You don't have a choice, Nkechi snapped. Baba Tund came today. He has paid the bride price. You will move to his house on Friday. Ada's blood ran cold. Baba Tund was the village drunkard. He was older than her late father, smelled of local gin, and slept in the gutters half the time. God forbid, Ada shouted, forgetting her fear. I cannot marry that man. He is a madman. You call your husband a madman? Nkechi screamed. She grabbed a heavy walking stick from the corner. You ungrateful girl. After I fed you. She struck Ada. The stick hit Ada's arm with a sickening crack. Ada fell to her knees, crying. But Nkechi did not stop until she was tired. The next morning, Ada limped to Femi's house. Her body ached, and her left arm was throbbing. She wore a long-sleeved shirt to hide the purple bruises, even though the weather was hot. Femi was in the dining room when she arrived. He watched her set the table. He noticed she was moving slowly, protecting her left side. When she reached for the water jug, she winced in pain and almost dropped it. Ada! Femi stood up. What is wrong? Nothing, sir. I just hit my hand against the wall, she lied, looking away. Femi walked over to her. Let me see. No, sir, it is fine. He gently took her arm and pulled up the sleeve. He gasped. A large, dark bruise covered her forearm, swollen and angry. There was another mark on her cheek she had tried to cover with powder. Who did this? Femi asked, his voice low and dangerous. Ada started crying. My stepmother. She wants me to marry Baba Tund. The drunkard. Femi's eyes filled with rage. Get in the car. We are going to the clinic. He drove her to a private hospital where a nurse treated her wounds. He paid for everything. Then, he drove her straight back to Madame Nkechi's house. Nkechi was outside washing clothes when the big car pulled up. Femi stepped out, looking tall and fierce. He helped Ada out of the car. Madam! Femi's voice boomed across the compound. Neighbors looked out of their windows. Nkechi wiped her hands, looking scared. Oga Femi, welcome. Listen to me very carefully, Femi said, pointing a finger at her face. If you ever lay a hand on this girl again, or try to force her to marry any useless man, I will arrest you myself. I will make sure you rot in police cell. Do you understand? Nkechi shrank back, nodding quickly. Yes. Yes, sir. For the first time, Ada stood behind Femi and felt safe. She finally had a defender. The humiliation from Femi's public warning sat heavy in Madame Nkechi's chest like a stone. She could not beat Ada anymore, and she could not force the marriage. The neighbors were already gossiping, pointing fingers at her whenever she went to the junction. Mummy, we have to be smart, Chichi whispered that night as they sat in the dark parlor. Violence will not work. Oga Femi is her god now. If we make him hate her, he will throw her away. Once he rejects her, she will have nobody to protect her. Nkechi looked at her daughter. How? We use Obi, Chichi smiled, a cold, wicked smile. The next afternoon, while Ada was sent on a long errand to buy firewood, Nkechi called Obi. Her voice was shaking, pretending to be in distress. Obi, please come quickly. It is Ada. She came back from work crying, holding her stomach. She is calling your name. Please, I think she is dying. Obi, who loved Ada like a sister, dropped his work immediately. He ran all the way to the compound, his chest heaving. When he arrived, Chichi met him at the door, looking worried. She is inside, resting a bit, Chichi said softly. You look tired, Obi. Drink this cold malt first while I wake her up. Obi drank the dark liquid gratefully in one gulp. He did not know Chichi had dissolved 4 strong sleeping tablets inside the bottle. Within 5 minutes, the room began to spin. His legs felt like lead. I need to see Ada, he mumbled, his speech slurring. He tried to stand, but his knees buckled. He collapsed onto the sofa. Quickly, Nkechi and Chichi dragged his heavy body into Ada's small room. They dumped him on her narrow bed and unbuttoned his shirt to make it look like he had been undressing. Then Chichi dialed Femi's number. "Oga Femi, sir," she cried into the phone, acting perfectly. "Please come. We don't know what to do. Ada brought a man to the house. They are locked in the room. They are doing bad things. We tried to stop them, but Ada insulted Mummy." Femi drove to the house with speed, his heart pounding. He didn't want to believe it. He trusted Ada. But the seed of doubt had been planted. He marched into the house. Nkechi pointed to the bedroom door, covering her face in fake shame. Femi kicked the door open. There was Obi lying on Ada's bed, his shirt open, deep in a drug-induced sleep. The room smelled of sweat and malt. At that exact moment, Ada walked in from the backyard, dropping her bundle of firewood in shock when she saw Femi's car. She ran inside. "Sir? What are you doing here?" she asked, confused. Then she looked into her room and screamed. "Obi, what is he doing on my bed?" Femi looked from the sleeping man to Ada. His face turned cold. The image of the innocent girl he thought he knew shattered. "So this is the brother you helped?" Femi asked, his voice flat and hard. "You play the saint in my house, and you bring your lovers here?" "No, sir. I don't know how he came here. I swear." Ada cried, reaching for his hand. Femi pulled away sharply. "Don't touch me. You are a liar, Ada. Do not come near my house again." He turned and walked away. Ada ran after him, grabbing his arm, but he shook her off and drove away, leaving her screaming his name in the dust. The dust from Femi's car had barely settled when Madame Nkechi turned on Ada like a wounded lion. "Pack your bags," she screamed. "Go and meet your boyfriend. You will not stay under my roof and bring bad luck to me." Ada tried to beg, but Nkechi threw her few clothes out of the gate. That night, Ada slept in an open stall at the market, curling up on a piece of cardboard. The mosquitoes bit her mercilessly, and the cold seeped into her bones, but the pain in her heart was worse. She had lost her job, her home, and her good name, all in one day. For weeks, Ada survived by helping market women carry heavy loads for small change. She looked thin and ragged, a shadow of herself. Meanwhile, Chichi was living the life she had always dreamed of. With Ada gone and Femi out of the picture, she found a new target. Chief Emeka, a wealthy man known for his flashing gold chains. Chief Emeka showered Chichi with gifts. She bought a new iPhone, expensive Peruvian hair, and paraded herself around the neighborhood. "My daughter has arrived," Madame Nkechi boasted to the neighbors. "Soon, we will move to Banana Island." But the high life was built on sand. 2 months later, Chichi missed her period. When she told Chief Emeka she was pregnant, expecting him to be happy, he laughed. "Pregnant," he scoffed. "My wife has given me 4 sons. I don't need a child from a small girl like you. Don't call this number again." He blocked her line. The gifts stopped. The money stopped. Panic took over the house. The August meeting was fast approaching. If the women found out Chichi was pregnant without a husband, they would become the laughing stock of the community. "You must remove it," Nkechi whispered desperately. "We cannot carry this shame." They could not afford a proper hospital anymore, as Chichi had spent all the chief's money on clothes. They went to a hidden clinic behind the market, run by a man who looked more like a mechanic than a doctor. The procedure went horribly wrong. Chichi came home pale and shaking. By midnight, she was screaming in pain. Blood soaked through her mattress. She was bleeding and would not stop. Terrified, Nkechi rushed her to the general hospital. The doctor came out of the emergency room, looking grim. "She has lost too much blood," he said, pulling off his gloves. "Her pulse is weak. We need to do a transfusion immediately, or she will die. Please, doctor, save her." Nkechi wailed, rolling on the floor. "I will pay anything." "Money is not the problem, madam," the doctor said seriously. "Your daughter has O-negative blood. It is very rare. We don't have any in our bank. You must find a donor now, or it will be too late." Nkechi froze. She knew only one other person with that blood type. The girl she had thrown into the street. While Madame Nkechi was running mad with fear at the hospital, Oga Femi was fighting his own battle. Since the day he chased Ada away, his house had felt empty and cold. His conscience would not let him rest. He kept remembering the look on Ada's face. It was not the face of a guilty woman. It was the face of someone who was confused and heartbroken. He decided he needed to hear the truth from the horse's mouth. He drove to the mechanic workshop where Obi worked. He found Obi sitting on a tire, looking thin and confused. Obi, Femi called out. Obi jumped up, fear in his eyes. Oga Femi, please, I don't want trouble. I just want the truth, Femi said, his voice calm. What happened that day? Obi scratched his head. Oga, I swear with my life, I don't know. Madam Kechi called me that Ada was dying. When I reached there, Chichi gave me a bottle of cold malt. I drank it, and the next thing I knew, I woke up with a headache and you were shouting. I did not touch Ada. I can never touch my sister like that. Femi closed his eyes. The puzzle pieces came together. The sickness, the drink, the deep sleep. It was all a setup. He had been a fool. He had let two wicked women trick him into hurting the only innocent person in his life. Get in the car, Femi ordered. We are going to find her. They drove to the market, asking market women if they had seen Ada. Finally, a yam seller pointed to an abandoned stall at the far end where the garbage was dumped. Femi walked there and saw a figure sleeping on a carton. It was Ada. She looked thin, her skin was dry, and her clothes were dirty. Femi's heart broke. Ada, he whispered. She woke up and scrambled back against the wall, terrified. Sir, please, I didn't do anything. Femi went down on his knees in the dust, ruining his expensive trousers. I know, Ada. I know everything now. I am the one who is sorry. I was blind. Please forgive me. Ada looked at him, tears streaming down her dusty face. She saw the pain in his eyes. She nodded slowly. I forgive you, sir. Femi stood up to help her, but suddenly a woman ran into the stall, screaming like a mad person. It was Madam Kechi. Her wrapper was loose, her head tie was gone, and she was barefoot. She threw herself at Ada's feet. Ada! Ada, please save me! Kechi cried, grabbing Ada's dirty ankles. It is Chichi. She is dying at the general hospital. She needs blood. You are the only one with her blood type. Please don't let her die. Femi stepped in front of Ada to block Nkechi. After everything you did to her? You want her to save your daughter? I am sorry. I confess everything. Nkechi wailed, rolling in the dirt. I was wicked. Jealousy killed me. Just save my child. Ada looked at the woman who had made her life a living hell. She looked at Femi, who was ready to chase Nkechi away. Then she looked at the sky. Get the car, Ada said softly to Femi. Let us go to the hospital. The smell of antiseptic filled the small ward at the general hospital. Ada lay on a narrow bed, a clear tube connecting her arm to Chi-Chi's. She watched the dark red blood flow through the tube, a lifeline passing from the girl who had nothing to the girl who had taken everything. Femi stood by the door, watching Ada with awe. He had seen strength before, but this was different. This was grace. An hour later, color began to return to Chi-Chi's pale face. Her eyelids fluttered open. The first thing she saw was Ada, sitting in a plastic chair, holding a cotton wool ball to her arm. Chi-Chi looked at the tube, then at Ada. Tears filled her eyes. Why? Chi-Chi whispered, her voice cracking. After I treated you like a slave, after I destroyed your name, why did you save me? Ada smiled weakly. Because hate is too heavy a burden to carry, Chi-Chi. And today, I choose to let it go. Madam Kechi, who had been hiding her face in the corner, burst into fresh tears. She fell to her knees beside Ada's chair. My daughter, she sobbed. I am not worthy to be called your mother. Please forgive me. I forgive you, Ma, Ada said softly. But I will not go back to that house. My life is moving forward now. And move forward it did. 12 months later, the sun set over a massive expanse of farmland in Femi's village. The air smelled of wet earth and ripe harvest. What started as a dream on a laptop was now acres of healthy cassava and yam. Obi walked through the rows of crops, holding a clipboard. He was no longer a mechanic or a gateman. He was the farm manager, shouting instructions to the workers with confidence. Stack those yams properly. Obi called out, laughing. Oga Femi does not like rough work. On the porch of a beautiful new farmhouse, Ada stood watching the sunset. She wore a simple, elegant Ankara dress that glowed in the evening light. She was no longer the frightened girl selling oranges. She was the lady of the house, a partner in every sense. Femi stepped out behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. The harvest is good this year, Femi said, resting his chin on her shoulder. It is, Ada agreed, leaning back into him. The soil is faithful. If you treat it well, it yields good fruit. Just like you, Femi whispered. You waited, you endured, and now we reap, Ada finished. She looked at the golden field, then at the ring on her finger. She thought of her late father and knew he was smiling. The years of suffering were gone, washed away by the rain, leaving behind a life of peace, purpose, and love. And that's the end of today's tale. We hope it brought a smile, a thought, or a little bit of magic to your day. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video, subscribe to Tales Vibe for more weekly tales, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from our story family all around the world. Until next time, keep your heart open, your imagination alive, and remember, laughter and lessons always go hand in hand. See you in the next story.